Ada Hayden Heritage Park is the largest of Ames's 38 parks, and it actually is a jewel of our park system. I'm sure as some of you have walked the trails, you'll notice the 9 boulders engraved with facial images of individuals who have made lifelong contributions to the conservation of natural resources in Iowa. They include Ada Hayden, John Lacey, and Aldo Leopold. And those are some of the few names you're going to see. Today it's our honor to unveil the 10th boulder, honoring an individual who has been instrumental in so many aspects of this park. Erv Klaas has been a leader in the efforts to transform this abandoned quarry into the beautiful park that it is today. And Erv, on behalf of City Council, thank you for all your efforts. This is a real testament to what you have helped us accomplish. And I have to say that it's a bragging piece that I have when I talk to other mayors in terms of what we have to enjoy, and it really makes and improves the quality of life. And so on behalf of council and on myself, thank you very much. And someone I was talking to said, yeah, but Erv said all the other ones are dead. I said, well, this is not an invitation to do anything other than to celebrate your life and make you realize how much you're appreciated in the efforts you've made on behalf of this park. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce Keith Abram. He's the Director of Parks and Recreation, and he is going to make some comments as well. And not that I'm going to try to get out of the sun. I forgot my hat. I'm going to fry my head, I'm afraid. So.
Thank you, Mayor. So, before we get started, or before I make some comments, I would like to introduce Sarah Cady, who's over here. She's the chairperson of the Parks and Recreation Commission, who oversees and provides guidance and advisory comments to our department. So Sarah, thanks for coming today. So with Erv, I've really gotten to know Erv a lot better over the last probably 7 years since I became interim director and then director, and I can't stress enough how much a pleasure it has been to really get to know Erv. And when I talked with Erv and I congratulated him on this honor, one of the things that he told me, he kind of looked me in the eye and he said, you know, Keith, I just don't feel like I'm deserving of this honor. You know, everybody else that's on these stones are my heroes. They're people that I've really looked up to through my whole career. And so Erv is very, very humble with this. But I just want to share a little bit with Erv. He is one of the most passionate, knowledgeable guys, people that I've ever met when talking about conservation and parks and wildlife and everything there is to know about parks. I feel at times like I'm a kid just sitting on the floor listening to the adults, just talking about and sharing stories. And I've told him multiple times, and I'll tell him again, that every time I sit down with him, I learn more and more every time. He just has so much knowledge to share. And one of the things that I would say also, and sometimes it's things that I have no idea. How many of you have seen dragonflies before? Okay, everybody? All right, so I'm thinking that there's one kind of dragonfly. and then Erv starts telling me the story about dragonflies and damselflies and how many different species there are and how many of them that he's logged in Ada Hayden, and it's just amazing all of the stuff that he has done. So in regards to the park, Erv, obviously you were instrumental at the beginning in starting to log some of the wildlife and other things that happened, in the park or were in the park. And then when there was the plan for 1,500 houses around this lake, you came forward and said, hey, should this be a park? And you started spearheading that effort and driving that effort and being a leader in that effort. And if everybody knows, bond referendums aren't always easy to pass, but Ada Hayden passed with over 80% yes votes, which is a testament to what this park is. So Erv also, him and Jim Pease put together a management plan for us, which has been a great tool for Joshua and I, our Parks and Facility Superintendent, as we try to manage this park. And it's going through a revision right now, but we look at that a lot, and it helps us with everything that we do with this park. The Oak Savannah, the golf cart tours for people with disabilities that can't enjoy the park otherwise, getting that going, the 501c3, the Friends group, could go on and on in regards to Erv's accomplishments, and I know Jim is going to go into a little bit more detail with that. But what I just want to finish with is, when you say that you're not sure that you're deserving, and I think this is a perfect spot for your stone, Erv, because you have done so much for this park. And when you're standing here, and everybody's standing here or sitting here, and you look out, you have a view of the entire park. And not many of us, if any of us, will ever get a chance to say, hey, you're in the same level as all your heroes. And this is you are going to be right there. So as people walk around, they will see, your face in this stone and this boulder, just as they will see everybody else's faces. So you're with your heroes. We appreciate everything that you have done, and look forward to many years of working with you and continuing to learn from you. And again, pass that passion on to everybody else that you meet. So very well deserving, Erv. Thank you so much for everything that you do, and congratulations on this wonderful honor. Thank you. And with that, I will introduce Jim Pease, who's the president of the Friends of Ada Hayden Heritage Park.
Well, thanks, Keith. I appreciate it, and I really appreciate it. I think I counted 75 or 80 people here today. We've tried to keep it small, as you requested, but people came anyway. They found out about it, and they said, "No, I want to be there." So that's just terrific. I think that's a testament in itself. Let me introduce the Friends of Ada Hayden Heritage Park Board, and if you guys can just raise your hands. Wolf Osterich is our vice president. Stephanie Fox for Stephanie. Stephanie's our secretary treasurer. Paul D'Amato over here. Kevin Kane. Oh, there he is, back here. Okay, good. Bob Claver. Jim Patton over here. Tana Tesdell. There she is. And of course, Erv Klaas. So the board is an active board. We do things all year round. Our latest effort was to mail this with the city's this new brochure concerning being our neighbors. Let you be my neighbor, and what kind of neighbor we need for the neighbors we need for the park. If you'd like a copy of this, if you didn't get one in the mail, or you'd like another one to hand out to somebody else, please see Stephanie over here. She's got some extras. Go around if you want one. She'll let you know. We also have a fairly new brochure. If you're not a member of the Friends of Ada Hayden Heritage Park, please pick one of these up from Wolf back here, and he'll make sure that you have those. I want to acknowledge, I don't know if Steve Tank, is Steve here? Sent him an email late, but Steve drew the likeness of Erv from photos, and my son, who drew the first 9, didn't have the time to get this one done, so he recommended Steve. So I wanted to acknowledge Steve Tank as well. So today we gather to honor Erv Klaas, the placement of the 10th stone, face in the stone here at Ada Hayden Heritage Park. The first 9 honorees are all important Iowa conservationists. They're people who are all deceased now, all having made important contributions to the broad field of conservation, all having been born and or worked in Iowa. Contributions of people like the park's namesake, Ada Hayden, to the study and appreciation of prairies, of John Lacey, a congressman, who wrote some of, around 1900, wrote some of the pieces of federal legislation that are still some of the most important pieces that we have today. People like scientists and philosophers like Aldo Leopold and Paul Arrington, who gave us the sort of philosophical underpinnings for the modern conservation movement. Artists like Ding Darling, who brought conservation and politics together in his art. People like educators, teachers like Bohemil Shimmick and Louis Pamel, who helped bring the public to nature with things like in places like state parks all over the state and Lakeside Lab in northwestern Iowa. Cy Runkle, who was a soil conservationist and a naturalist who excelled at helping get young people and adults into the outdoors to learn about themselves and about nature. To writers like John Matson, who brought us home to the prairies and rivers of Iowa. If you want to learn some more about these people, I would encourage you to listen to the interview that's soon to be on KHOI, a local community radio, that Erv and I did with Pat Schlarbaum, talking in more detail about the lives of some of these people. And spoiler here, we reveal at the end that Erv is going to be the 10th face on the rocks here too. So today we honor another rock of conservation in Iowa, Dr. Erv Klaas. Fortunately for us, Erv is still here, still reminding us of our responsibilities and our possibilities, still being the model of a citizen activist, helping guide us to our better selves and a better world. Tomorrow, he will celebrate 85 years on this planet. Erv is first a meticulous scientist, one whose research on the impacts of DDT on the eggshells of a number of species of birds, that research was some of the data that helped the U.S. Implement a national ban on the use of DDT in 1972. He came to Iowa State in 1975, fortunately for us, and served as professor of animal ecology and leader of the Cooperative Fish and Wildlife Unit till he retired in the end of 1999. That program, the Cooperative Fish and Wildlife Unit, by the way, was founded by Ding Darling, one of those faces in the stone, and the first leader was Paul Arrington, another face in the stone, and he was a student, Paul Arrington was a student of Aldo Leopold, a third face in the stone. You get the pattern here. There's a lot of connections between these folks. At Iowa State, Dr. Klaas guided graduate students in pesticide impacts on wildlife, waterfall energetics and ecology, wild turkey survival, habitat analysis. As a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service employee, he helped research and design what became the Neil Smith National Wildlife Refuge down near Prairie City. He was first appointed Professor Emeritus of Animal Ecology when he retired from ISU in 1999. But he retired from Iowa State, but not from life, unfortunately not from our community, because in 2001, lots of people recognized his and professionals in the Iowa chapter of the Wildlife Society elected him to their prestigious Hall of Fame. Though retired from Iowa State, Erv continued to actively contribute to this community, to the field, to Iowa, and to the nation. He used that broad knowledge, as both Erv and John, or Keith and John mentioned earlier, connections with the university, connections with the natural world, to put together a survey of the flora and fauna here at this former gravel pit, Hallett's Quarry in North Ames. With the data as an important baseline, he helped organize a community-wide effort to acquire the quarry as a park, a new wild park, a new concept in parks for the city of Ames. It culminated with a passage of the bond issue by a record 86%. No bond issue, except this one, ever passes by 86%. It's pretty phenomenal. The name for the park, the Ada Hayden Heritage Park, was in fact Erv's idea. It was a way to honor Dr. Hayden and her connection to Ames and to Iowa prairies. Without Erv, I can say that we might very well not have this park. Many of you in this audience, Ted Tedesco and a number of others, helped in that effort as well. So on behalf of the Friends of Ada Hayden, we thank you all for your many contributions. In 2009, Erv determined that there was a need for a Friends group and to help support the park and help support the community. He gathered together a founding board, wrote the applications and for 501c3 status, and we became in 2010 the Friends of Ada Hayden Heritage Park. Erv served as founding president of the group. I call him President Emeritus until 2018. His guidance and amazing energy, if you've ever tried to keep up with him, not just on the golf course or the softball field, but keep up with his mind, he has led to our hiring of summer interns for summer and fall interpretive programs. In fact, he led a number of these, particularly dealing with damselflies and dragonflies, something that he's in retirement really become very excited about. His empathy with other Ames citizens who have mobility challenges led to our annual golf cart tour, thank you. And unfortunately this year, because of COVID-19, we haven't been able to hold that, but it'll be back, don't worry. He co-authored the management plan, as Keith noted, for the park, the document that guides the Park and Recreation Department in the challenging management of a wild park, one that requires some different sorts of techniques than those of other Ames City parks. His contributions go well beyond this park and the Friends group. He served as an assistant commissioner of Story County Soil and Water Conservation District, helping area landowners to preserve the precious, rich soils of this county. He currently serves on the board also of Prairie Rivers of Iowa, and on the board of the Squaw Creek Watershed Management Authority. He's a lifelong learner and a teacher, both taking courses at OLLI, the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, but he teaches them there as well. His involvement with the Aldo Leopold Foundation in Wisconsin led to his founding of the annual Ames Reads Leopold celebration here in Ames. He most recently founded the Ames Climate Action Team, along with other Ames community activists, helping move us, I think, the whole community, we hope, to take action on this critical issue of climate change. So, with all that, and probably lots more that I've forgotten, for your monumental contributions to Ames, to Iowa, to the nation, to conservation, the Friends of Ada Hayden Heritage Park is pleased to install this 10th face in the stone honoring Dr. Erv Klaas. And we're going to have 3 of his grandchildren come up, and they're going to remove it. Not remove the rock. We don't expect you to take the rock. Okay. Each take a corner. There are 4 corners. 1, 2, 3. All right. it's a likeness of a younger Erv, because we used an earlier photo. And like the other 10 stones, it will, the signs, the wayfinding signs that we have at all 4 entrances will eventually be changed, and you'll be the 10th stone in there. Erv, unlike the other 9 honorees here in this park, Erv has a chance at rebuttal. They didn't have. So Erv, if you'd like to say a few words, come on up, please.
Well, thank you for all those very, very kind words. I'm very humbled and honored to be recognized this way. You know, and I also want to acknowledge my son and daughter who are sitting over here, and all of those that came to witness this. I want to also acknowledge Ted Tedesco, who was mayor at the time that the park was started, and he had a lot of influence in getting it going. He asked me and Kay Berger to co-chair the bond issue campaign, and it was him behind the scenes that I think helped move this along. Thank you very much, Ted. I remember in 2002 when we first got access to this property when the city owned it, I must have walked every square foot of this park several times, doing surveys of plants and animals when I found them. But I felt it was important to document the baseline vegetation and biodiversity that was here at the time, at the beginning. And so I put together a report, and there were 150 plants on that report, and most of them were native, surprisingly, because it was surprising that this land had been disturbed a lot by the quarrying and by the agriculture that occurred here. But still, we had a lot of remnant little patches of prairie and species of trees that, you know, were native trees. So that's been our goal, is to restore 3 heritage ecosystems: wetlands, prairie, and savanna, so that our kids and their kids can view these ecosystems in the future right out the back door. Now, concerning the stones, I learned about Ding Darling when I was in high school in Ellsbury, Missouri. I was an FFA student, and my teacher wanted me to do a public speaking contest at the state level, and I wanted to speak on conservation. And I found Ding Darling and used him and quoted him in my speech in 1957 or 56, the year that I graduated. And then in college I learned about Aldo Leopold and Red Sand County Almanac. And in fact, my major advisor, my undergraduate advisor at the University of Missouri, was a student of Aldo Leopold's, or had been a student, got his PhD at the University of Wisconsin, and he was married to Aldo Leopold's daughter, Lena. So he was influential in my understanding of the land ethic and learning about wildlife conservation and nature. And then when I was working in for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in Maryland and collecting bird eggs for pesticide analysis, one day I was asked to report to the director's office immediately. And I went over there, and there was a game warden there who read me my rights. And it turned out that I had been supplying egg white, not the whole egg, just the egg white, to a professor at Yale University who was collecting egg white to determine relationships in birds. His name was Charles Sibley. And they found his, in his freezers, all these samples that I'd been sending with my name on them. And he wanted to know if I had a permit to do this, because this consisted of be a part of an animal. And of course I had not put that on my permit. I had the permit, but I didn't have egg white on it. And so he said, well, you need to revise your permit and get that on there. And it turned out that Dr. Sibley was importing egg white from all over the world without permits. And so he got in trouble. Fortunately, they let me go. And then I came to Iowa State, and one of the first people I met, I was sitting in my office one day, and this little man came walking in and introduced himself. It was Sylvan Runkle, who I'd never heard of, and I was kind of embarrassed that I hadn't, but he was checking out this new kid on the block, and he just wanted to get acquainted, and that was great. And I really enjoyed that one visit I had with him. He passed away not too long after that, so I was unable to get to know him any better. But I also felt humbled that I was in the same unit that was, the first leader was Paul Arrington. And so there was lots of history there as well. And I also met John Matson, who's on one of our rocks. And John at the time was working for the DNR, and but he used to come and give inspirational speeches to our wildlife biologists, and he's just fantastic. And he did the best impersonation of Charlie Gillum, who was a close friend of my dad and me, and was very influential in my career. And so that was my introduction to Iowa, was meeting all these famous people. So again, I want to say thank you, and thank you for all of you who came out for this great day in this hot sun. And so enjoy the park. It's really a pleasure to have been associated with this.
Well, thank all of you for showing up today. We, as I said, Erv, we tried to keep it small, but doing less. So, virtual hugs to all of you from the Friends Board, and I know you wish the same to Erv, and congratulations to him as well. So, did you want to say something?
I wanted to mention the property over there.
Ah. Come on up, you can do it. Next project.
I'm sorry I forgot this. This is quite important to me. The property that adjoins the park, immediately to the west, on the other side of Hyde Avenue. When we started the park, I was on the Soil and Water District Board as a commissioner, and I wrote a grant proposal to the DNR for some money to do agricultural conservation practices in the watershed of this park, because I recognize the importance of maintaining the water quality in the park. And there is a creek that flows right down through the middle of that, and it flows directly into the park. And when the park was constructed, that ditch that carried that water from that creek into the park was diverted into the wetlands to treat the water. And so partly this wetland down here that's dry right now was part of that complex of wetlands. And the developer owned the property at the time, and he said he didn't want to participate in these government programs. He wanted to tie it up for 10 years in government programs. He wanted to develop it. So I said, well, okay, we've lost that one. But he didn't. So we took the money from this grant proposal that I had written, and we had a charrette, or a workshop, in, I guess it was in one of the clubhouses up here on one of the housing developments. And we had all the developers come and learn how to do low impact developments so that we could impact the water quality of the runoff that would come from those developments. And and then the city laid an overlay on the zoning of it when they annexed it to require all developments to be low impact. And these developments that you see back here have used that principle. There's actually retention ponds and grass waterways and things that they've put in order to treat that water. So there's been some good things come out of that. But every developer now, it's changed hands 3 times. That property is now up for sale again. Every developer so far has failed to do a project that was acceptable to the city as well as to the developer. And so it's 3 failed attempts. And I feel it's the chance of a lifetime that the city could acquire that property. It's about 170 acres, and add to this park with the same kind of management or master planning that went into this. And that way we could help protect the water quality in the lake, which is one of the attractions of this park, is the good water quality. That water quality was identified back in when we started the park by John Downing as one of the best water quality in the state. I think he ranked it 4th or 5th behind the lakes up in northwest Iowa, Lake Okoboji and West Okoboji. So we want to keep it that way, because as John said, if you allow this development to occur, it'll be green pea soup. And who wants to fish and boat in that kind of water? But more importantly, it serves as a backup water supply for the city. When the Skunk River goes dry, we lose the recharge capability of that river to our underground aquifer, our drinking water aquifer. So I hope that we can use the same foresight that we had in purchasing this property to add to it, because I know that what's going on now is agriculture without conservation, and the wetlands down here are being overloaded with silt and nutrients. And so we can do something about that. And we really need to move fast, because some developer's going to come along and say, hey, you know, maybe I can make a buck on this, and so they'll put down the down payment and an option to buy, and then we're stuck. So we've got to move fast, city. And I've talked to John Dunn, who's the head of the water department and has jurisdiction over the water quality here. And he likes the idea, and he said he thought maybe the city could get a loan from the state revolving loan fund for source water protection. Source water is drinking water protection. So I think there's an avenue that this could be done, and I hope that we can move fast. And I apologize to any city councilman here if you seem to me that I harassed you too much, but it's really important that sometimes that we do these things and move fast. So everybody, I think, can realize the importance of this, and I hope you will get behind it when the time comes.
At 85, still calling us to be our better selves. That's pretty good. So, thank you all for coming today. Appreciate it.
Enjoy the walking stick.